So is a ban list coming sooner than we expected? So make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out more awesome content. So there's been a topic of conversation floating around right now. Is Konami going to save Yu-Gi-Oh? And as my chair squeaks here, that's the inner workings of my brain just communicating and telling me, this is going to happen. So this has just been the rumor mill doing exactly what the rumor mill does. Looking at the results from the events, I think we are probably going to see a ban list a lot sooner than later. So the questions come up. The next YCS is actually like a month from now. Actually, it might be early. September? But anyway, we have a YCS in somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks, which gives Konami, this really downward time to patch things. But the problem is, when you look at the NA data versus, the rest of the data, NA was the one that painted the picture of the format, where we had Cool Tunes just really dominating things. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I think we are probably going to adapt the restriction that the OCG has. I would not be surprised to see the Rotary to 1, the Cool Tune Synchro to 2. Now here's the thing with the reason why they probably will put the Cool Tune Synchro to 2. So KTS is a card that says twice per turn. It is literally functionally designed to be a twice per turn. But the thing that usually gets you with the card is usually the third activation. It's usually the one that kind of just blows you out of the water, and you're just kind of like, oh wow, you're so good having this additional copy, in the background. And also, you're making the trade with it in mind. You're either going to use the card itself to combo up with, your combo on your turn 1, or you're going to look to use it defensively. This is actually a really interesting design space that Konami actually gives you by putting the stupid card to 2. You either use it defensively or offensively. And you know what? I think that's fine. The goal is to make Cool Tune into a slightly lower to the ground deck for you to be able to work with. But the next question becomes, okay, so if we are really going to check Cool Tune here, we don't have the Deep Eyes Dragon to, discard, to go search for, dear old, free advantage, to get the, we're just, our 3 rotaries are still here. Unfortunately, putting rotary to 1 does effectively slow down the course of the deck and actually, helps kind of keep things a little bit more in check. But that's the Cool Tune factor. I do think we might see Noroy kind of rotate back in with this. And once again, the squeaky in the chair, old great squeaker, tells me, that if we're going to keep Rotary in the format, if we are going to justify keeping a potential, card in the format, then you better be willing to bring Noroy back. I do not think that having a starter like Noroy is as crazy as you would expect. Yes, we're kind of in a format where, hand traps are a little bit more impactful than some of the others, but that's no different than any other format that we've been potentially in. And also, if you were really worried about the whole Noroy, smashing through and setting up a board break, like, oh no, like, I guess the Cool Tune player can't clip to be able to set up, and what about all the Cool Tune cards that activate in the opponent's hand, that's not cool. It does cause, I guess some dislocation when you're looking at things because, but the hand knowledge from that particular thing is anywhere near as crazy as what Rotary does, because Rotary is a search on top of that. I can't believe I'm advocating to return a card like Noroy back into the game as a one-of, because we gotta keep things actually going. To be truthfully honest with you, the biggest thing I'm really worried about with this format is the topic of the Azamina package. Right now, you guys kind of have to admit, right? Like the TCG does not like Omni Negates. The TCG has done everything that they can to clean up every other Omni Negate. Borreload Savage is gone. Baron DeFleur is gone. If it effectively turns into a problem card, the TCG in their, infinite wisdom tries some pattern to clean up these cards. And I hate to say it, I think we might actually see Ilvia Sylvia go. My logic for this is Ilvia Sylvia is it's an Omni Negate that is too good. I understand that it is a little bit lower to the ground in terms of value. If I can run it over via battle, with its stat line being as low as it is, then it should be a little bit more fun. And I logically, I guess we can make that argument. If the stat line is a little bit more easy to deal with, then having an Omni Negate running around is fine. There's also the conversation of Mubra Salago, being the searcher that just does so much more, because it's also one that you can kind of spin back around, regenerate a resource, pull back out, still get the wanted, and then toggle into the additional draw. That kind of feels like a little bit more of a problem-esque sort of thing, and I will agree with you. Maybe Mubra Salago is the place to kind of hit the cleanup here. But either way, the Azamina package has really shown its viability within Modern Era Yu-Gi-Oh! They're not going to go hit anything in Roulette because they don't have a reason to go hit anything in Roulette. It's too new. But if you want to hit an engine that has been sitting around for a while, then Mubra Salago and Ilvia Sylvia, those two are the biggest ones within the Sinful Spoils stuff. But then there's also the argument, don't we have the Sinful Spoils anime coming out? You are correct. We do have the brand new anime that, for the Chronicles, we're going to be going into the Diabell Star lore. So it could just be a temporary patch where the TCG just bans it. We also don't know if there's going to be a Chronicles deck attached to, the Sinful Spoil stuff. Because if that's the case, there's also the topic of OSS coming back, maybe not now, but in a future iteration, which is, it's crazy to think about, but that's an entirely other can of worms right now that needs to be discussed. Is the Azamina package itself, is it just time to filter that package out of the game for the betterment of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh? And like I said, if the TCG is going to keep cleaning up these Omni Negates that are easy and accessible, but this is more than an Omni Negate. It's an Omni Negate plus a draw one. So you're also getting rewarded for the filtering option as well. So that's that. I think probably we are going to see that. So there's also, the other pile decks too. Because we do kind of expect the meta to shift, right? If you blow up Cool Tune, the next thing you're going to see is the 60 card homogeneous piles are going to kind of start coming back into the meta, and that's another topic that people aren't going to be ready for. What happens when, you have 60 card Rollad, Mitsurugi, Azamina, Sinful Spoils, or, toss in an Albaz package into that as well. You're really starting to mix in a lot of different concoctions. But we will see the engine decks, every sort of format overlapping with each other. They are not going to be stopped. I guess the final topic of this video is, Fallen of the White Dragon. Because a lot of people have looked at Walbaz and they've gone, we need to clean up, something in branded. Albion, if you want to go after TFAV, would not be a crazy hit. But you also have to remember, we no more than just got the Fallen and Virtuous Ultimate Rares. They are literally just starting 2 to 3 weeks ago. It is too early for Konami to want to punt that engine out. I think that might be another ban list away. I just don't foresee, as much as limiting TFAV to 2, the Fallen and Virtuous, by the way, for those of you that don't know what TFAV is, that would be an excellent cleanup, in my opinion. Or, you hit Albion and it checks branded and that. But the problem is right now, Ritual of Light and Darkness is just about to take over, or a pile variation of it is absolutely going to run through things, which is to be determined. So we'll wait and see if my predictions are correct on this. I would not be surprised to see a ban list on Monday. if you want my honest opinion. You guys have a good rest of your day, alright? Peace. Patrons! Thank you! Ah!
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.